Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our class meeting. I think we're on like week 4 now already. 3 or 4. Pretty sure it's 4. But welcome and thank you for your time. I would ask those of you that can turn on your cameras, please do so. If you don't want to or you're at work, I totally understand. But I just prefer talking to people than boxes. Um, so that's appreciated if you guys could do that for me. Today we are going to cover chapter 14 and 15. We didn't do 14 last week, so I'm going to go over there's one main thing in chapter 14 that I want to talk about that I want y'all to pay attention to, and then that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go over all the different definitions of what a fracture is or a dislocation or all that stuff. Y'all read through the material, y'all saw where those are. If you need to reference back to those definitions, y'all can for your exams and whatnot. But so we're going to talk about one thing in particular with chapter 14, a little bit on chapter 15, and we're going to do some CPT coding for chapter 15 because all the different fingers, toes, and all the different bones can be a little bit confusing. A lot of crazy words in that chapter, which y'all will see in some of the practice stuff. And we're going to go through it together in our CPT manuals because I lost my answer key for this presentation. So we're going to go through it together so I can get the answers again and have a key. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump right in. Okay, so chapter 14 was the integumentary system. I usually say that really, really wrong. I usually slaughter that word every time. But as you guys read in chapter 14, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it because y'all have already taken the exam and done, or maybe today or yesterday. But y'all, the ones that I looked at have done great. Some of y'all, if you're early, kudos. But the ones I looked at have done really great. And it was all about the skin and the tissues underneath and all the things, hair, nails, and all that stuff. Which y'all can tell by my voice. I find this section really kind of gross. But one of the main things that is so valuable in this section, and one of the things for y'all to know about, is pressure ulcers. They cover pressure ulcers in chapter 14. And this is something that almost no matter what specialty you work for, you could end up coding for some pressure ulcers. If y'all have patients that get bedridden or are quadriplegics, suffer from this often, people who are injured for long periods of time and cannot get up or move around, suffer from pressure ulcers, and they can be deadly. They can really be deadly for our patients. So the book says that pressure ulcers are also known as decubitus ulcers or bed sores. It's most commonly known as bed sores. Pressure ulcers are located on areas of the body that have bony projections, such as the hips and the area above the tailbone. Pressure on these areas causes decreased blood flow and sores to form. With continued pressure, the sores ulcerate and deeper layers of tissue such as fascia, muscle, and bone may be affected. And as y'all can see, and y'all can see this clearer in your textbook. I took this picture directly out of the textbook. Um, they show you the different stages. There's 4 stages for pressure ulcers, stages 1 through 4. And 1 is your least severe, 4 being your most severe. Okay. Stage 1 just affects the top layer of the skin, the epidermis, that very outer layer. And what it looks like on somebody who has this, stage 1, it's just the skin reddening and getting irritated because they're laying on it all the time. I have a lady that I used to work with that actually trained me on Medicaid Medicaid billing. And one Friday we left work planning somebody's birthday party for the following Monday. And Sunday, she and I were really good friends. Sunday, I got a call from another girl that we worked with. She had an accident over the weekend and was paralyzed. Um, and she's a quadriplegic now. And I was one of her home health care people um, after she got out of rehab and different things. She was hospitalized for months and months and months. Um, and now she's a quadriplegic. And one of the things that she battles um, is bed sores because she has to be rotated every 2 hours. She gets from being in a wheelchair constantly anytime she wants to sit up. She's got, they say above the tailbone is a very common area, and it is. Um, as they lose muscle mass, the bones just start to protrude even more, right? They can't use their legs and arms and things like that like they used to. So they lose muscle mass, they shrink down, and then the bones start to protrude more, and it puts constant pressure on these areas, and it just breaks down the skin, is basically what it does. It just eats away at it little by little. And if you get a lot of people, like the lady I worked with, she had the bed sores on her tailbone, and she ended up having to have a colostomy because fecal matter would get in these open sores and then infection and all this stuff. So she ended up having to have a colostomy bag, put in so that these sores could heal without getting infected. And it's bad stuff. But anyway, so stage one is just that top layer of skin. Okay. Stage two, it starts to go down a little bit deeper. You can see it's all the way through the epidermis into the dermis and somewhat into hitting that fatty layer of tissue. Okay. Stage three goes even deeper through the fatty tissue, and it starts eating away at muscle. And you're getting closer and closer to that bone as it eats away at the flesh, basically. Stage four is the very worst, and at that point it's eaten all the way through to the bone. The bone is protruding, and it's starting to eat away at the bone. The bone will get infected, and at that point, it's usually people are hospitalized so they can keep these things consistently cleaned and things like that. But pressure ulcers, bad stuff, y'all, bad stuff, and so many of our older folks. And disabled folks suffer from pressure ulcers. Like I say, almost any specialty that you work in, you're gonna see it here and there. You're gonna see it. So that's why I wanted to cover that, kind of highlight that, and explain the different stages. Let's see. All right, so chapter 15. Any questions about chapter 14? Anything y'all want me to go into more detail about on chapter 14? No? Good. I just don't like that chapter. I really don't. But chapter 15, musculoskeletal system. We're going to do some CPT coding having to do with this. So, and this may be different. I said page 131 is the beginning of the musculoskeletal system. That's in the 2022 manual. The page number may be different in the 2023. I can't find my 2023 manual right now. So I'm in the 2022. So it is on page 131. And if y'all look at that page, this is the picture that comes up. And when you're doing the coding and you're coding stuff that you don't know, these illustrations that are in this manual, y'all, are like gold. Okay. I'll read something and not even know what area of the body I'm supposed to be looking at, right? So with some of these medical terms. So these can help us out big time. This one is at the beginning of the musculoskeletal system, and every chapter usually has a set of these illustrations throughout to help us out, right? Because we're not doctors, we don't have medical degrees. So that is the beginning of this section. Your table of contents is also there. And one thing I want y'all to notice, and I've pointed this out before, when you're looking at the table of contents, when you look down, you see incision, wound, excision, replantation, fracture, manipulation, different things, and it's the same things over and over again for each body anatomical site, I believe is how this one. Yeah, general, head, neck. They break it down by body part, basically. And then you have all these different functions, these different procedures that you're going to perform on those said body types. You can find those in the table of contents. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. And like I said, this one gets a little confusing because there's just so much medical terminology that we're not familiar with. But let's read it. Percutaneous skeletal fixation of closed calcaneal fracture requiring manipulation. All right, so the first time I read that, when I was putting this presentation together, I was like, what in the heck is calcaneal? What is that? Where does that go? I had no clue. So I started looking into it and I found this illustration in the CPT manual. And you'll see down here at the bottom of the foot, calcaneus is this bone basically in your heel. So that is where I would start in the alphabetic index. Percutaneous skeletal fixation of closed calcaneal fracture requiring manipulation. I would possibly start with calcaneal fracture or fixation, something along those lines. So who wants to follow along with me and help me find this stuff? All right, so it just so happens I go to my alphabetic index and I pop into where it says fracture. So I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna start with fracture and see if I can find calcaneal fracture and see what we can find under that. All right, so that's page 1112 in the 2022 manual, maybe a little bit different in the 2023. But if you look under fracture, and of course it's all alphabetized, but right below it, it says calcaneus. And then it indents down and we get closed treatment. And then the next line is with manipulation, then without manipulation, open treatment, and percutaneous fixation. Percutaneous skeletal fixation. Well, that matches almost identical to what we have, right? So that's where I would go. So we went to fracture, we found calcaneus, and then it gave us our percutaneous fixation. And it says code 28406. So we're going to go find that in our manual. I'm going to flip back to the musculoskeletal system. 28406. 28406. If y'all find it before me, let me know if that's going to be our code or not. Requiring manipulation. So with manipulation. All right, what y'all come up with? Is that going to be our code, the 28406? Anybody? Anybody? I know some of y'all are at work, but surely at least
I'm getting on Google.
That's fine. That's fine. Just some kind of back and forth. Something. No, at least one of y'all gotta have a CPT manual with you. Hopefully. But long story short, that is our code, 28406. The other codes around it are all for different types of treatments. Closed treatment, without manipulation, closed treatment of talus fracture, this is going to fit our scenario perfectly, 28406. Okay, but this is a good example of how if you don't know what the body part they're talking about is, you can use these illustrations to help you figure it out, to give you a starting point, basically. Okay. All right, number 2, depressed frontal sinus fracture repaired using open treatment. Depressed frontal sinus fracture. All right, so seeing as how we were able to start with fracture for the first one, I would say we could do the same thing with this one. So I'm going to go back to fracture. Let's see. Frontal sinus fracture. Let's see what we can find. And y'all, there are pages and pages of fractures. Different types of fractures all over the body. Skin. Frontal sinus.
Would it be 21,343? It says open treatment of depressed frontal sinus fracture.
Yep.
But it doesn't say anything about the repair.
Found it before I did. Good job.
Good old Google.
Yep. 21343. It actually brings us to 2 different codes. 21343 being the first one. And then it says 21344. So I'm going to go look and see what the difference is between those two. We always verify anyway, but it's giving us 2 codes, so we definitely.
21344 is open treatment of complicated, example, comminuted or involving posterior wall frontal sinus fracture via coronal or multiple approaches.
Well, that's way more than what we got going on, right?
And a little bit.
A little bit, right. So 21343 it is. Thank you, Ryan. Good job. Awesome sauce. All right. Anybody need any clarification on how Ryan got there via Google or how I got there via CPT manual? All right. Number 3, aspiration and injection of a bone cyst. Ouch. Ouch. I would think that you could start with.
Would we start with injection?
You could, yep, aspiration or injection. That is where I would go first, either one of those. Let's see, I think I'm closer to injection. Let's start there.
20615.
Maybe. Let's see.
That's what I come up with. 612 is injection of ganglion cysts at any location.
It's taking me forever just to get through the alphabetic index. Jeez. All right, what y'all come up with?
20615.
20615. Yeah.
20615. Aspiration and injection for treatment of bone cyst. Kind of dead on, right? All right, but it's got a little note under there. Let's see what that says. For injection of bone substitute material for bone marrow lesions, use 07017. All right, well, that doesn't apply to us, so we're going to ignore that. And there's nothing around it that says we need to add anything to this code or makes me think it could be another one. So we would run with that. 20615. Very good. And I told y'all I was going to write down this stuff. 20615 for my key. And I sure have not been doing that. Okay. That's okay. All right, so our last one. Replantation of an index finger, including sublimus tendon insertion following a complete traumatic amputation. Code only the replantation service. All right. You start with replantation, huh? That's where my mind goes first thing.
Mhm.
All right. Here. Replantation. And it gives us arm, digit, foot, forearm, hand, penis, and thumb. Index finger. So that's going to be on hand. Okay. Right, so it gives us 20808. So let's see where that goes.
Two zero eight two two.
Let's see. All right, so
I'm gonna say, where is that? 20816.
all right, replantation.
I think I'm gonna go with 20822 because it says code only replantation service.
Includes distal tip to sublimus tendon after complete amputation. Yep. 20822.
Two two.
22. Yeah. Replantation of the digit, index finger, excluding the thumb, which ours doesn't say excluding the thumb necessarily.
Mhm.
That's okay because everything else fits. Distal tip to sublimus tendon insertion, complete amputation. Following a complete traumatic amputation. It says code only the replantation service. So that would be it, 20822. All right, so if I had this come up at work, I would go back and ask for more information. Because after looking at the 20816 that Ryan pointed out, we would need more information to determine between those two codes. We would need more information. So if this were real life, we would go for more information before we made a determination on that. But given what we have on screen, we go with the 20822 as of now. But I would ask for more information about the You see, it says includes metacarpophalangeal joint to insertion of flexor sublumis tendon, right? And the other one includes distal tip to sublumis tendon. So, and the reason I went with 2-2 instead of the 1-6 is because of the tendon insertion. That's why, because it included that. But I would want more information about the metacarpophalangeal thing or the distal tip. I'd want to know which one it was so that we could be as accurate as possible. That's that. All right, so anybody have any questions? Y'all seem to be pretty comfortable with the CPT coding and the CPT manual. Is there anybody that's not? I mean, my newer students, I know y'all are not going to be 100% comfortable like Ryan, Caitlin, Jackie, girl. So today's Jackie's last day, y'all, if I remember correctly.
It is.
She finishes 2 days. 2 days, her last day. This is her last Zoom that she gets to come to. And Jackie,
Want to trade?
it has been a joy. You've been an awesome student, so thank you very much and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
And we
Thank
also
you.
have Courtney usually comes to Zoom, and she's not here today, but today is also her last day as well. Courtney, Jackie, and Jenny all finished today. Today's your last day. So congratulations, you guys. You made it through. Like I told y'all, it'd be here and gone before you know it. You'd be through it
It
before
really was. Really, it went by really, really fast.
it did. It did. I feel like Ryan just got here like a month ago, but he finishes in December. That's
I don't know
It
when
really
I'm
seems like that.
I know. His finish date's December the 6th. Let's see. I don't have yours yet, Keena. I'm telling y'all, it goes by so fast. We have a lot of y'all finishing in October. Angel, Madison, Jody. Felicia's in November. Sienna's in November. Michelle finishes in October.
what's going on this computer phone.
Huh? I don't have yours yet, Keena. It should be. Let me see. I have this report here. April 16th, Keena, which you just started, so that's not bad, but it'll be here and gone before you know it. Here and gone before you know it, y'all. It really does. 8-9 months goes by so fast. But congratulations to those of y'all that are finishing. Those of y'all that are still trucking along, keep on trucking. The payoff is worth the momentary sacrifice, y'all. I promise. I promise. Any questions about anything? Anything at all? No?
I've got a. Well, I was gonna let you know that started asking for Thursdays off every week, so I can at least have a day off to start getting something done here because it's just been overwhelming working 2 different jobs 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So if any way possible, next Thursday, because it won't be this Thursday, obviously, could you make sure, can I get my stuff reopened? Anything that I haven't gotten done that I can redo, so I can try to get all that caught back up.
Yeah, if you have any exams that close, I'll go ahead and reopen those. As far as the assignments, I have figured out, y'all, that it is so much faster and easier for me, and it's maybe selfish. But if I reopen them, I've got to spend the time, I've got to stop and go back in and reopen them. If y'all can put the answers in the comments, when I do the grading, I can go through and I can see that you commented on it. And then I don't have to like find, if you emailed it to me, find it in an email or something like that. And if it's closed, I don't have to go back in and open it. You can just put it in the comments and I'll give you the credit for it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, just copy and paste into the comments, y'all. If you and that goes for if y'all are having upload issues, if something is closed and you don't hear back from me for some reason, like you text me late at night and you're working on it, but it's closed, and you don't hear back, go ahead and leave the answer in the comments, because probably 10 times out of 10, I'm gonna tell you to do that anyway so I can give you the credit for it. I don't want to give you an F if I don't absolutely have to. The only way you're gonna get an F in my class is if you just don't do it at all and you don't communicate with me at all. I have very few students who fail my class. Like if they fail, it's because they meant to, you know. If you even give it half effort, you're gonna make it through this thing. But just leave stuff in the comments if y'all ever have issues, if the site's glitchy or something's closed or anything like that. But yeah, that's no problem, Ryan. I completely understand. Completely understand. Got a couple of y'all right now. Oh, y'all hold on one quick second. Okay, sorry about that. There's somebody going off in the room right next to me. Any other questions or concerns? But I've got several of y'all that are working, having to work 2 jobs right now, and it's just that's a lot, y'all. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. The human body is only made to handle so much lack of rest, stress, all that, you know. So I get it. When times get tough. No problem. Just communicate with me like Ryan just did, and we'll be okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Questions, concerns, heads up, anything at all? No? All right, folks. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Have a great weekend. Be safe, happy, all that fun stuff. And as always, thank you so much for your time. Taking the time out of your day to listen to me talk. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys. So have a good one.
You too. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.